Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, where today I am back on the War Thunder Update 1.87 development server, and I'm going to be taking a look at the Challenger II. Now this of course is Britain's first tier 7 main battle tank, and on the first iteration of the development server, this is at a battle rating of 10.0. So getting right into the stats, the gun, a 120mm L30A1, far better than the gun on the Challenger 1. This is a further development of that type of gun. Now you also have two 7.62mm machine guns, one mounted on top of the loader's hatch and the other one mounted coaxially next to the gun, and then you also have 10 smoke grenades. Now turret rotation of 20.4 degrees per second, certainly not bad, and a vertical guidance of the gun of -10 and plus 20 degrees, which, you know, goes along with the general ideology of British tanks of having very good vertical gun movement. Reload is 7.7 seconds, certainly not too bad. Engine with 1217 horsepower and also a 62-ton weight. This allows it to have a speed of 35 miles per hour. As you could see a minute ago in the X-ray, you can see the general crew member configuration. There were 4 people. You got the commander, the loader, the gunner, and the driver. Driver is sitting centrally. Of course, his viewing port is just below the gun for where he looks out. So going on to the armor protection analysis, we're going to go with the German Leopard 2A4, and we're going to take the most advanced round that can carry, the most advanced APFSDS, that is. And as you can see, it cannot pen the frontal plates of the turret. At 0 range, it still cannot. Of course, there are iffy bits, mostly around the mantlet. Lower frontal plate, big weak spot. The upper bit, though, of the sort of side of the chassis, that is a good protection spot there. Although the driver's hatch, as many predicted, is a weak spot, and the lower frontal plate is certainly a weak spot. Side of the turret, not really much protection there, especially from this kind of round. Although an APFSDS round onto side armor at close range, you wouldn't really be expecting it to protect it much. So as you can see, a lot of good stuff there. Going over to the USSR, so going with the brand new Russian Tier 7 T80U, we're going to take that vehicle's best APFSDS round, and we're going to see how that affects it. So obviously the turret cheeks again, penetration not possible. This is at a range of 400 meters, so pretty good. Of course though, the chassis, bit iffy there. Various parts of the chassis armor can be penned. Lower frontal plate, big weak spot. With this tank, with the Challenger 2, urban maps, when it's flat, you are going to have your lower frontal plate and your chassis exposed. That's a major weak point. If you can, though, find a hold down position, keep that lower frontal plate hidden, and maybe also the driver's hatch as well, that could be a perfect position for this vehicle. But as you can see, sort of interesting stuff there. Now this ATGM 650mm of pen, again, from a high angle, like where a helicopter would fire from, it can pen the turret cheeks, but of course from level, they're very highly angled, so from a level position firing directly in, it's likely that's not going to pen. So pretty decent there. Now that we've done that, let's go take a look at the X-ray. As you can see, armor parts, mostly the turret cheeks. You can see the composition of the armor there. You generally made up a lot of stuff. That does give you a lot of effective thickness. You do then have some side turret cheeks, though unfortunately the rear section, the back of the turret, has no composite. It's only sort of the front half of the sides and then the front cheeks of the turret that are protected. And then of course the upper frontal plate is very well protected, and there is a plate for the lower frontal section, a thin plate of composite, but it really doesn't have that much protection, so that is a major weak spot for your tank. And a ton of fuel tanks, which will actually give you a slight bit of protection. Usually fuel tanks, they do act actually as a type of armor most of the time, but as you can see, there's the crew members, there's the guns, ammo rack in the turret, the first stage ammunition load, and then we have the second stage, which is of course in the chassis, which I would advise don't take full ammo, do unload some of that, just to minimize the risk of being ammo racked, which of course isn't something you want. There's the radiator, transmission, and the engine of the vehicle. So generally a lot of stuff there. This vehicle, the Challenger 2 in general, it is one of the more slower MBTs. The frontal armor is very good. As I said, hold down position, that is what you want to be doing with this tank. The gun is also fairly decent, definitely an improvement over that of the Challenger 1, but generally the chassis is still a major weak spot. The Challenger 1 had the same thing. The turret was fairly well protected, but yet it was actually the chassis itself that had the weaker armor. And the problem with this, though, this is the standard version of the Challenger 2. There's no additional armor, which means the side armor is incredibly weak. Stuff like geopards, SPAAs can kill you very easily. so I would advise being incredibly careful with that side armor. Hopefully guys, you can do eventually add a modification to add additional armor packages to the side of the tank. That would certainly be very useful. Anyway, into a test drive. Just going to show a bit of a test drive, and then I've got to go and have some gameplay footage for you. So there's the first kill, IT1, fairly easy, hit the frontal plate and it just fragmented in. T64B, sorry, shot on the move there. Luckily I hit the lower frontal plate and it fragmented through, blew up the ammunition load. Here we have another Russian tank, so I'm just going to yeet a shot into that. And there we go, that's another kill. So as you can see, this thing is fairly powerful. I'm currently using the stock round, not the most advanced round, so interesting to see how even the stock APFSDS is pretty damn decent. Of course, you still have HESH. There's no Heat FS, but you do have HESH rounds. At higher tier, HESH is relatively redundant unless you can hit the side armor of something that's fairly weak. Maybe a Leo 2A4's side armor, the HESH will do some damage. Mostly though, HESH, I tend to use it for lighter vehicles like BMPs, SPAAs, those sort of things. But generally, I just stick to the APFSDS. Okay, into some gameplay. So starting off here, all these games are on Alaska. That's the only map that we had for tank games on the dev server. And there you go, T80B. Obviously this shell, even with the early challenges, aiming for the upper section of the upper frontal plate of a T80 or a T64, that will go through. So that is generally the tactic that I prefer to use. Driving along here, and oh god, that's a Type 90, skid around, and yeah, there we go. Hit the top, hit the upper frontal plate, and I think it bounced, and it hit the turret ring and fragmented and set off the ammo load. Certainly a kill I was fairly happy with there. Now we've got another one, Alkan After. I killed Alkan After, another YouTuber, very big YouTuber, and you know, there we go, killed him. He was in his brand new Russian SPAA. That thing can kill you, by the way, very easily. The missiles are just, they're overpowered. There's a Russian tank, knock out the cannon breach, he can't do anything. He tries to escape, but you know, I knock out the engine. And yeah, obviously, if he doesn't have an engine, he can't exactly move. So all I have to do is sit and wait, aim at the upper frontal plate, and kaboom-skoy. And there we go, there's another kill with the Challenger. So very nice. This tank, in terms of aesthetic design, personally, I think it looks way better than the Challenger 1. I like how both of the turret cheeks are empty. Obviously, both versions of the Challenger 1 had that ugly, like, storage crate thing. I don't know what it was, but that was on one of the cheeks. This looks a lot smoother, looks a lot nicer, a lot more refined. I do like the more squarish turret design of this tank. It generally looks pretty good, and there's Challenger 2. I found they are... The Challenger 2, the frontal armor, brilliant, obviously apart from the lower frontal plate. But the side armor is dreadful. Another little trick there for Russian tanks, lower frontal plate will generally do the job, so just a little tip there as well. Russian tanks are fairly easy actually, as long as you don't shoot in like the point of the armor, you will generally kill them fairly effectively. The point of the armor is where it's sort of got the most effective thickness. Don't shoot there, shoot either at the top of the upper frontal or just the lower frontal plate, and you will generally do a job. And here's actually a clip of me killing an M1A1. You know, the M1A1, it's a good tank, but as with all Abrams, it has one major weak spot, that being the turret ring in between the chassis and the turret itself. As you can see, I'm aiming just below the gun in that gap, and generally that'll hit the turret ring, go through, fragment, and kill the crew, as you saw there. That's generally the tactic that I always use with any type of the M1 and even the XM1. It's just generally a very useful tactic, so I would advise trying that out. And here's the little Geopard, and yeah, he's dead. So there we go, a ton of gameplay there from the dev server. That's all I was able to get, really. I just wanted a compilation of kills to really show the tank in action. Not all my dev blog videos, not all my dev server videos will have that, but it is just a good, sort of good just to show the tank in action and say this is what it can do, this is what it cannot do. Anyway though, I am going to end the video there. So the Challenger 2, a tank I am incredibly happy with. I was very happy when the dev blog came out. I was actually very surprised that it was the first thing they revealed, but it is good to get an upgrade from the Challenger 1. This certainly though will not be the best MBT in the game after this update. I presume that will be the best MBT runnings will be sort of a race between the T80U, the M1A1 and the Leopard 2A5. Personally, I think the 2A5 will be the best, but nonetheless, this is a good sort of support tank. Certainly not a brawler due to its big size and less mobility, but it is a very good tank if you use it right. The gun being improved, certainly something I am incredibly happy with. Anyway though, I am going to end the video there. thank you for watching. More dev server videos on the way soon, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.